Now Paul was standing in front of a crowd of Jews, and he began to speak.
Brothers, fathers, listen to what I have to say.
As Paul spoke, they realized he was speaking in their own language, so they listened very closely. Paul told his story of how he persecuted the Christians in Jerusalem, and how on the road to Damascus, something miraculous happened.
Me and my companions were traveling down the road to Damascus around lunchtime, when suddenly a very bright light shone around us, and I fell to my knees. When I arose, I was completely blind. I heard a voice saying to me, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me?"
The voice that Paul heard was that of Jesus of Nazareth. Paul continued to tell his story of his travels. While in Jerusalem, Jesus appeared to him in a vision, telling him to bring his message to the Gentiles. When the crowd heard this, they were outraged and called for him to be arrested, bound, and beaten. But before they could, Paul claimed he was a Roman citizen by birth. The Roman commander Lysias quickly withdrew him and led him before the Jewish High Council. Standing before the Sanhedrin, Paul presents his defense for sharing the gospel with the Gentiles. Paul realized that some members of the High Council were Sadducees and some were Pharisees, so he shouted,
Brothers, I am a Pharisee, as were my ancestors, and I am on trial because my hope is in the resurrection of the dead.
Now this divided the council, the Pharisees against the Sadducees. For the Sadducees say there is no resurrection or angels or spirits, but the Pharisees believe in all of these. So there was a great uproar. And as the conflict grew more violent, the commander Lysias was afraid they would tear Paul apart. So he ordered his soldiers to take him back to the fortress. Paul's nephew came to visit him in the fortress late that night.
Uncle Paul, I overheard a group of men, more than 40 of them, who took an oath not to eat or drink until you're dead. They plan to ambush you on your way back to the council.
At this, Paul told his nephew to report everything he heard to the commander. So his nephew went to Lysias and told him of this plot to kill Paul.
Some Jews are going to ask you to bring Paul before the High Council tomorrow, pretending that they want to get some more information out of him. But don't do it. There are more than 40 men hiding along the way, ready to ambush Paul. They have vowed not to eat or drink anything until they have killed him. They are ready now, just waiting for your consent. Don't let anyone know you've told me this.
That evening, Lysias and Paul set off for Caesarea and safely avoided the assassination attempt on Paul's life. They reached Caesarea, and Lysias placed Paul under Governor Felix, where he remained